This is a super special episode today, guys, because it is my 300th episode. What I want to talk to you guys about today is something that you really don't want to hear, but it's something that you need to hear. And the message we're going to talk about is consistency over time, time under tension, and how that impacts your results. And I know that that is so not intuitive, but counter to popularity, because everybody wants to talk about what's the quick route, the quickest route to get whatever it is that you're trying to get, whether you want more money, whether you want a better body, whether you want better relationships, more confidence. Everybody's looking for the fast track to get there. And I totally understand that, because we want the maximum result for ourselves with minimal effort in the minimal amount of time. The difficulty with the time is that it's never as fast as you think. And there's part of this when it comes to constructing an offer that is really important. That is the time delay. Like, the shorter the time delay that you can give somebody, the higher the perception of the value of whatever you're offering them is. So I understand why copywriters and marketers do this a lot. Like, if you've looked at Men's Health as you're checking out of the line in the grocery store, if you're looking at Women's Health, there's usually something along the lines that is, get this really cool benefit with this minimal amount of effort in this amount of time. So, for example, like Men's Health might be massive arms, 6 moves in 6 weeks. That's what they're selling. They're selling you the shortcut. But in reality, like, if you are anywhere in your life, you know that there isn't a shortcut to get there. There is only consistency and time under tension. So think about this for a second. This is the 300th episode of this show. There are 3 episodes a week, which means I've been doing this for 100 weeks. Right? Yeah. Got to do my math. In any event, like, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to come up with stuff. Like, I mean, when you think about it, it's like I've got to come up with 3 different episodes every week that usually involve just a story from my life. If you listen to the show for a long time, or if you've listened to several shows, you know that it follows a pattern. The pattern is, I tell you a story, I tell you why that story is relevant, the lesson that I learned from that story, and how it can be applicable inside of my life, inside of my business, inside of your life, and inside of your business. Coming up with 300 stories, though, isn't something that, like, is easy. There's a lot of times when I don't want to do it. Normally, my pattern is on Friday afternoon, while I'm still at work, I will come up with the content that I'm going to publish for the next week, and I dual purpose these things. So sometimes it's a podcast that also airs on YouTube. But the consistency of having to do that is a grind, because there's a lot of times I don't want to do it. But doing it anyway is what needs to happen, because this is what I committed to. Like, I want this message to get out there to more people. If you listen a lot, you know that one of the things why I do this is because a lot of people have had to settle for lives that are below what their potential for living is. They've had to settle for businesses that are below what their potential for business is. And I want that to be you. If you're investing your time in these episodes, I want you to do something good for yourself at the end of almost every episode. Not every single episode, but almost every episode. I tell you, like, listen, here's what I want you to do in the next 24 to 48 hours to cement this lesson and improve your life in some way, shape, or form. So I have to do these because this is what I want. This is the consistency of doing it. Again, it's something that nobody wants to hear, but it's a thing that everybody needs. When I look at my results in my life, and by no means do I say this like I've got it all figured out, but as I look around, I'm living at a fairly high level. When I look around, and the only tool that I've got is like this comparison tool, and it's not like the best one by any means, because you don't really want to compare yourself to other people. But you know, if I do compare myself to the people that are in the real world that I'm around, like the 3D world, not the podcast world, not the YouTube world, not the social media world. It's like, when it comes to what I do, I'm 44 and my level of fitness is really high. I've been married for 15 years. We've been together for 18 years. And my wife and I still really like each other, despite the fact that we've got some difficult children and we got to work through that together. And when it comes to like my business, Yeah, I don't live in a $5 million house and have a Lamborghini, but I live in a really nice house and I've got a couple of really nice cars. And we go on vacation a lot. And I'm not telling you guys this to brag or anything like that. I hope you can tell by the tone of my voice that it has nothing to do with that. This is simply the lesson of consistency. And I'll tell you why I've got all those things here in a second. I went from an atheist, like a complete atheist, to a total believer because of my consistency. So let's take a look at what happened to produce those results. Like I want to share that first, and then let's talk about the consistency. Okay, so the consistency with this. I have been working out 4 to 5 days a week, up to 7 days a week, depending on the cycle, since I was 15 years old. Since my sister, who's 4 years older than me, said girls are never going to like you if your arms are so skinny. And I was a pretty skinny 15-year-old because I was 6'1" already, and I think I probably weighed like 150 pounds at the time. So I've been in the gym ever since then. And right now at 44, I go 5 days a week, sometimes twice a day, because my wife likes to work out with me, and so I'll go work out with her. Now let's take a look at what happens in our relationship and the consistency over time. So my wife and I go on 2 dates a week, whether we've got babysitters or not, because our kids are now old enough to stay home a little bit by themselves, mostly during the day. And so even a date is we will take a walk. We'll go for like a 3-mile walk, and we'll just talk about stuff with each other. And we'll talk about each other outside of the kids and what we're interested in. I'm asking questions of her. We go out to dinner too. We've done that every week for years, 2 dates a week. And it's interesting because I remember when I was just coaching men, one of the questions that I would ask them in the interview process was, when was the last time you took your wife on a date? And almost every time it was this like, what do you mean? Like out of the house? Yeah, out of the house, man. We don't really do that. We've got kids. I'm busy with work, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you need to date your wife. The consistency of it. And I'll get into why. Like that's a story for a separate episode. But it's like the consistency of doing that produces the result that you have. The consistency of the work. Like the work that I do on myself as a dad to become better, more patient, less frustrated, lose my shit way less, is all because of the consistency of doing the work. The consistency of business, right? That has come through, one, the consistency of publication, like 300 episodes. That's a lot into this thing. But it also has to do in the consistency of learning. Like I'll read books every day. Like I'll read 10 pages of a book every day, and then I'll apply something from it. Where do you think I got the idea in these episodes when I tell you, go do something now? Like go do something now as a result of what you heard today, because that's what's going to move you forward more than just learning anything that you have. So I've tested, I've invested, I've put everything I can into it on a consistent basis, 5 days a week. I have 4 things that are critical to do every day that I'm at work. So I have 20 things a week. I've been doing 20 things a week consistently now for the last 5 years. 20 big things that matter to me. That's consistency. I'm on what day? Day 227 of reading the Bible straight. Now, that's what I needed in order to really see what I needed to see to go from my atheism to my belief. But it's like, that's not an easy thing to do, to sit there every morning. I get back from the gym at about 6:10, and I sit in my backyard and I look at our trees and I look out over our pool, and I just sit there and I read the word. And everything's right with the world when I'm doing that. And so I actually enjoy it, but it's still not something that's easy to do. So that's my consistency. And again, I'm not telling you this to build myself up as anything more than I am, because all I do is the work. And because of that, I get to enjoy the results of the work. Now, could my life be better? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think everybody's could. Because there's always these next levels that we're trying to chase. Like what I'm talking about right now in terms of what I do and the results and the life that has produced, it might be something that right now seems like really far away from wherever you are. But what's interesting about that is that it was really far away from where I was. And where I'm going seems really far away. But I know I'm going to get there because of the consistency. It's not because of a shortcut. It's not because of some hack. It's not something that that you can work your way around. There are ways to accelerate it, right? The biggest thing that I ever did was find somebody who was ahead of me at where I wanted to be and pay them to mentor me. That was the best thing that I could ever do. And it wasn't paying them for them. That's the crazy part. I was paying them for myself. I was paying them for myself because here's the deal. We value what we pay for. We don't value what we don't pay for. So, and we value a lot more what we pay a lot for. It's one of the reasons why you don't see Bentleys parked next to Hondas. Bentleys usually park far away because we value a lot what we pay a lot for. So that's the best. Like, if you want advice out of this, consistency is there. You have to be consistent. There's no other way around it. You can't go in spurts and come out on fire and then drop off. You have to be consistent. So find the easiest thing for you to be consistent with. And then the second thing, if you were looking for advice on this episode, is to find somebody who's ahead of you in wherever you want to go and pay them. Pay them to mentor you. And that can be somebody that actually does that, like in a profession, or that can be somebody that you just know, but pay them. Not for them, for you. It's going to make you take it more seriously, and you need to take it seriously if you actually do want to go where you say you want to go. All right, so one of the things you got to recognize is that I haven't been publishing these on YouTube the entire time. So when you hear me say 300, you look through and it's like, this dude doesn't have 300 videos, 300 episodes of the podcast. You can look for the podcast if you want to listen audio only. Find it anywhere you look at your podcast. Just search up Everyday Discipline and you'll be able to listen to it there. A little easier than listening here on YouTube on your commute or if you're out for a run. All right, guys, thanks for watching this video. I will see you guys on the next one.